Imagine changing your entire life. Not with a huge plan, not with extreme discipline, not with 5 a.m. routines or complicated systems, but with something incredibly simple. Just 10 minutes. It sounds too small to matter, too easy to work, too simple to create real change. But sometimes, the smallest rules create the biggest transformations. Because success isn't built through massive actions. It's built through tiny decisions repeated every day. And the 10-minute rule is one of the most powerful tools you can use to defeat laziness, procrastination, and mental resistance. If you struggle with starting tasks, if you delay important work, if you feel unmotivated more often than you'd like, this rule might change everything for you. Let's talk about it. Almost everyone has goals. You want to study more. You want to exercise. You want to build a business. You want to learn new skills. You want to improve your life. But there's one invisible enemy that stops most people. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it later. I'm just not in the mood today. And suddenly days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And nothing changes. The problem isn't that you're lazy. The problem is starting feels difficult. Your brain naturally resists effort. It prefers comfort. It prefers entertainment. It prefers easy dopamine. So whenever something requires energy, your mind pushes you to delay it. This is where the 10-minute rule becomes powerful. The rule is extremely simple. Whenever you feel resistance toward doing something important, tell yourself this: I will do it for just 10 minutes. Not an hour, not a full session, just 10 minutes. Anyone can do something for 10 minutes. Your brain doesn't see it as a threat. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels manageable. And that small shift changes everything. Because once you start, something interesting happens. Starting is always the hardest part. When you begin a task, your brain enters something called momentum. Momentum makes continuing easier than stopping. Think about pushing a heavy car. The first push is extremely hard. But once the car starts moving, keeping it moving becomes much easier. The same thing happens with work, studying, writing, or exercising. The first few minutes are the hardest. But after that, your brain settles into the activity. You become focused, and suddenly, 10 minutes turns into 20. 20 minutes turns into 40. And before you realize it, you've completed the task you were avoiding. All because you told yourself to start for just 10 minutes. There are 3 powerful reasons. First, it removes mental pressure. When you think you must work for hours, your brain resists. But 10 minutes feels harmless. Second, it defeats perfectionism. Many people delay tasks because they want the perfect start, the perfect mood, the perfect conditions. But the 10-minute rule focuses only on starting, not perfection. Third, it builds consistency. Even if you stop after 10 minutes, you still made progress. And progress repeated daily becomes powerful. Imagine a student who struggles to study. Every day, they tell themselves, I need to study for 4 hours. But the thought of 4 hours feels overwhelming. So they procrastinate. Instead, they try the 10-minute rule. They open their book and say, I will study for just 10 minutes. That feels easy. They start reading. After 10 minutes, they're already focused. So they continue. And suddenly, they've studied for 45 minutes. Not because they forced themselves, but because they started small. Many people underestimate the power of small beginnings. They believe success requires giant steps. But the truth is, most big achievements start with tiny actions. A book begins with one sentence. A business begins with one idea. A transformation begins with one decision. The 10-minute rule takes advantage of this truth. It turns starting into something easy. And once starting becomes easy, consistency becomes natural. The beauty of this rule is that it works almost everywhere. You can use it for studying. If you feel lazy, just study for 10 minutes. You can use it for exercise. Tell yourself you'll work out for 10 minutes. You can use it for reading. Just read 10 minutes. You can use it for cleaning your room. Start cleaning for 10 minutes. You can use it for creative work. Writing, designing, building. Almost every productive activity becomes easier when you remove the pressure of long sessions. At first, the rule only helps you start tasks. But over time, something deeper happens. You begin to trust yourself. You prove that you can act even when motivation is low. And that builds confidence. Soon, starting tasks stops feeling scary. Procrastination loses its power over you. Your identity slowly changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who delays things and start seeing yourself as someone who takes action. That identity shift changes everything. The idea sounds too simple, and people often ignore simple solutions. They search for complicated productivity systems, complex schedules, extreme routines, but often the best strategies are the simplest ones. The 10-minute rule works because it respects how the human brain actually behaves. Your brain hates pressure, but it accepts small steps. Try this rule today. Pick one task you've been avoiding. Just one. Something you've delayed for days or weeks. Now set a timer for 10 minutes. Tell yourself you will stop after the timer ends. No pressure. No expectations. Just start. You might stop after 10 minutes. And that's perfectly fine. But most of the time, you won't want to stop because momentum will take over. If you apply the 10-minute rule every day, your productivity increases. Your discipline grows. Your confidence improves. You stop waiting for motivation. You become someone who acts first. And that simple shift separates successful people from everyone else. Because the biggest difference in life isn't intelligence, or talent, or luck. It's action. Most people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment to start. The perfect mood, the perfect plan, the perfect energy. But the truth is, perfect moments rarely exist. The people who succeed are the ones who start before they feel ready. And the 10-minute rule makes that possible. It removes fear. It removes pressure. It removes excuses. All it asks is this. Start small. Start now. Start for 10 minutes. Because those small beginnings might just change your entire life.